word in edgewise. It's great to have all three of you here.
Good to
Lara,
be here.
what happened on that staircase? And please don't tell me it was an owl.
No, I'm not going to go with the owl theory, that's for sure. But, the defense theory made some sense to me, and that should have created a reasonable doubt, at least the way I see it, the way they had her falling backwards, and that would explain why there was so much blood, and there was a spot where her head could have hit. And to me, it made some sense, and a jury could have, if they wanted to, could have acquitted him because they could have decided that there was reasonable doubt. And it makes sense. I mean, look at it. If you fast forward, at this point, you've got him. Later on, he ended up entering a plea to manslaughter, which means the prosecution also had some doubts as far as their evidence goes.
Well, yeah, they had real problems because they had an agent who lied on the stand and was completely discredited, fired, and tried to get his job back, Agent Deaver. That was their big problem. But Eklund, there's two people home. I mean, this is a guy who's got lots of issues in terms of money, in terms of who he really is sexually, the life he wants to lead, some frustration, some writer's block, right? And come on, two people at home, one of them's alive, the other's dead, and all that blood?
Yeah. Yeah. As a defense attorney, you're going to try to, shoot your shot. I can see the argument for, the defense's theory, but I could also see the prosecution's theory. Now, what I cannot see is an owl theory, and that is just me. I think that you can argue either way. I think that's one of those fact questions. It's who did a better closing type case because it's so close. It can go either way. So I think I wouldn't be able to call it because there's a lot of blood towards the end of there's a lot of blood towards the end of the hallway, but I don't see the blood on the beam at the door. It would have at least had like droplets down if she would have had to hit first to make all of that. Or it could have been like she was smacked over the head, that part, and then was smacked over the head later on. So there's a lot of things that you can argue.
Yeah, Josh, you look at that staircase, you don't see an owl or an accident, do you?
It's not my job to see an owl. I don't got to prove anything. I'm a criminal defense lawyer. It's the state's job to prove what happened. They've got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt what happened. And it's not the defense's job to prove that alibi. And it could have been an owl, and it could have been a slip. It could have been Jessica the house elf. Who knows? Anything could have happened. It's not the job of the defense to show the jury exactly what happened and prove it. That's an undeniable burden of the state. They can't get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the one problem that prosecutors had during the trial, and many thought this was going to be a reasonable doubt in the case, was they didn't have a murder weapon, Lara. No murder weapon. They were saying throughout the trial it was the blow poke. They never found the blow poke. And then the defense found the blow poke in the middle of the trial.
So basically, no murder weapon, no motive. It sounds like, and a pretty good explanation by the defense. If you ask me, I'm surprised this man was convicted based on the evidence that I'm hearing, and especially now that we know also you've got the bloodstain expert exaggerating things and has had problems in many, many cases. My understanding is over 30 cases where he's had issues and problems were found. This looks like a pretty strong case for the defense, even though we're past that point, and a very interesting Netflix movie, docuseries.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, when I think about this case, first impression is a lasting impression. And when I walked into that mansion, I made the left turn, and then they took the boards off of the sealed staircase, and I looked at it. I was like, why are you guys showing this to me? But they believed that evidence there was consistent with their theory, that this could have been an accident. It could have been something else. I think they're looking back at it now saying we don't know exactly what it was. But without a murder weapon, you can still prove a murder, though, right? I don't need the murder weapon, do I?
They're proving that there's lots of different things that could have happened. And that's really what matters. The state has to tell a concise story that they sell to the jury. They used an expert witness that was later found to be completely manipulating and.
Josh, let me ask you something, though,
buffering.
Josh. Let me ask you, Josh. So let's say you're in Vegas, right? And you can bet on owl, you can bet on accident, or you can bet on bludgeoning murder. Which one are you betting on?
There's so many choices, no one can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the problem.
All right.
And the state's
it doesn't
cases,
even
my
matter,
other
right?
colleagues have noted, it's not a great
Here's the
state's
great
case.
news. Here's the great news. Everyone can make
No.
up their own minds at home. You don't have to listen to me or anyone else. The entire trial now available on demand. You can watch it for the first time since 2003. It's all for free. You can binge it. It'll take a while. It's like the longest trial in North Carolina history. But maybe by the time you finish it, you'll be allowed to leave your house.